So here's the idea. There's no way to make this work on the other side. Not with what I have at hand. I don't have any machining tools or anything. So the next best thing is to turn it into a trike using this live axle I have for the go-kart. So now we're going to cut these brackets off here and get that tire out of there. We'll weld on these brackets. We'll bring them in. Let's see, we'll bring them in and then we'll weld them to the frame over there on that. And that's a good thing too, because I know that the sprocket here and the sprocket in there match. And I have a little bit of chain left over from the last build, so we can use the chain, the axle, the torque converter. It'll all match, and it looks like it'll line up and get in there. Alright, so I've got the frame cleaned up and everything removed, I think, that I want to remove. I got the old brackets off the other go-kart frame and cleaned up. I tacked them together and made them exactly the same, so they weren't, because they were about like an 1/8 inch difference in height after being cut off of, you know, 2 different go-karts and reused now for the 3rd time. And so I got those back to exactly the same, holes all centered up. And then I was curious on how to mount them, so I took a measurement from the center of this pivot point and went out to the arm here and got the same exact measurement on the other side. It was, I remember, like 11 inches and 9/16, 11 and 9/16. It was almost dead on the same. So I used this, the end of the pipe, as my reference points for mounting both. Because I did notice that even though the distance was the same from center to the end of each one, these arms were welded in different spots here. I don't know what that's about. If you look at this angle, you can kind of tell how it droops down a little, but I want the axle centered on that thing, and then hopefully at least this is centered to the front tire well enough. But we'll find out how it drives when it gets on there. And then I took a measurement there, marked it out here, so there's going to be my motor plate. I'll cut that out, get that tacked in, then I'll set the axle in place and bolt the flanges up to the axle, get them nice and straight, and then we'll finish welding the brackets in, and we should have a roller today. Hey Cody, where's my reflection? Where is it? Hold on, my dog is chasing the reflection of my watch. This is difficult. Well, there it is. Welded on. Just a couple spots on each side. Not anything crazy. I think that's plenty. If not, we'll find out. And then I flip the sprocket around so the bolts aren't in the way here. And then now you got room for that guy. The plate, engine plate's on. That'll help stiffen the frame up too. And I made this little seat just to go help support us big guys here. And put that in the middle. We'll get bolted on when that gets bolted on. But other than putting the motor on here and drilling holes, I think I'm done with most of the fabricating, if that's what you call this. It's a roller rolling right out of the garage. There it is. And get my own shadow out of the way, but it's pretty much what it'll look like. It looks a little silly with that tire, so I got one of those 12 and a half inch tires. I think I mentioned it already, but pretty much the same as that guy. And then that will lift it up just a couple, well, maybe just an inch in the front, but it'll look a lot better. Alright, so using some dirt, I rubbed a template from the bottom of the motor onto this piece of paper. You can see a little bit of it there. My shadow there, there's my finger. Right there, there's one over there, and there's one over there, I promise. And then using this straight edge, make sure I've got it in line, the motor in line, so it's not like cocked that way or that way for the chain. Alignment can be changed later by scooting the sprocket over, but first we got to get it in line. So that's what I'm doing here with 2 squares, because I don't have 1 square that does it long enough. Okay, well, there's my holes. I put it in the first time and with no adjustability, and the chain didn't quite work out. So I drilled some more holes, and you can see that they're perfect, just right. So now this thing hopefully will let us scoot the engine back, take a link out, and then scoot it forward to tighten it up. Let's see. Thanks. So here it is with the motor in its final position. It's not terrible, but it's okay. I think we're gonna roll with it. I really don't have any much more room for adjustment, so chains on, and I got some extra big washers underneath the 4 engine mounting bolts. It's ugly under there, you don't need to see it, but it runs and drives. I've got a makeshift fuel line going to it. I gotta go to work right now, or I'd show you. It doesn't want to run real well with the airbox and exhaust off. That's the exhaust off of the Mini Baja over there. But we are not gonna move anymore. But it will fire up. See if I turn the choke on. Yeah. I made the foot pegs. I moved them to the front. Let it sit on it. Let's see. Plenty of room for me. And you can keep your knees out and your legs out away from this stuff anyways. And let me just reach back, hit the handle here. Just running, driving. Ready to rip. All right, we're gonna take it for our first test drive. turns out not having that cotter key in the back makes a huge difference. I didn't realize it was just spinning on the axle the whole time. So now that it's locked up, this thing just wheelies. And I can only hold on with one hand. Alright. That's how you crash it into a trash can. So as you can probably tell, this thing didn't stop that well. So I'll, with just the front brakes, cable that's a little overstretched, and it's like bicycle brakes. So we're gonna use the caliper and disc that I bought with this axle setup. I took this caliper and unbolted it, held it up here with a clamp, and got it where I wanted it. Basically took the pen and just put 2 holes in the frame right there. Get this back out of the way. Right there and right there. So now I gotta see if I can get a drill in there on the inside and make 2 holes. Alright, caliper's on. It's nice and solid. It's not going anywhere. It's already adjusted. That's my play. I got a lot of play to go. They're brand new pads, so it's no big deal. Just had drilled 2 big giant ugly holes in the side of the frame, and we're good. Alright, so just a little recap before we get started on running the cables for everything. You can see I'm just borrowing some stuff from the Mini Baja, the bars and the clamps and grips and stuff for now. And I got the throttle cable already ran, and it works just fine. And let's see, I had these front brakes on here. The front cable's so short that it's super tight, and they don't work that well either. So you saw yesterday I mounted the big bracket on to the big caliper to the frame. Now I gotta make a bracket though that I can bolt to those 2 bolts and stick up above it a little bit, so I can put a cable stay over here, hold the cable housing so the arm can swing back and forth. I'm gonna repurpose some of this stuff here. This is all crap I cut off, and I think this is gonna be the one. I'll chop off this piece here, drill a couple holes for the bolts on the caliper, drill another hole about 1 inch above it for this little doohickey right here that holds the brake housing in place. I'm not gonna just pillage the other bike and leave it for dead. I've got some orange stuff picked out, orange bars and orange throttle cable, orange cover right there. It's like the cheapest stuff I could find on eBay. Drew a line around it. I'm gonna go carve it out. That'll let me get close enough to get some bolt holes drilled into it. There it is, bolted on. I think I need to get a new cable though, just all together, because it doesn't slide back and forth very well. Alright, so I went ahead and got on a new brake cable, so it reaches all the way to the lever now. And even though these aren't the right bars, I wanted it to be rideable for now. You know, I can always make the cable shorter or whatever it needs to be when I get the right bars. And it still doesn't spring back the best, but it doesn't drag at all, so it's not really a big deal. It springs back enough. And it doesn't look half bad with the body on there. Those bars don't quite fit the style, but it's alright. The new ones hopefully look a little better. And I went ahead and decided to keep the tailpipe and make it a little different. See if I can get down low shot. So I dropped it down. I shortened this bit so it's closer to the head. I grinded off some of the welds. I rotated it because earlier it went up. In that last shot you saw my rusty tailpipe going up that way. Well, this is what it looks like now. It's rotated down, it's got a little bend to go over the axle. Cleaned it all off and rubbed it down with WD-40, and that's what happened, and I think it's freaking awesome. That is pretty cool. Put the cover on, cut a hole out for the chain. It's ready to rock. I just got to get a bigger jet for the carburetor so I can run it without that restrictive air filter on there. Otherwise, I just got to roll around with it like part choked all the time like that. It runs pretty good with it just part choked. Not a huge deal. The dogs are picking on the little girls. Knock it off, you big bullies. But I think this thing is done for now. And I gotta try to find a gas cap. It's apparently smaller than the one that's on the, you know, this X1 or whatever this thing is. This is like apparently a 15-year-old bike. X1 or X2 China bike. But apparently I got lucky when I ordered that gas cap. And it fit just perfect. I didn't know there'd be two different sizes, because that gas cap doesn't fit on this one. So I'm on the hunt for that. In the meantime, I'll patch that hole, which isn't a big deal, but this bike is done for now. Thanks for watching, guys. What do you think, Cody? What do you think, Cody? It's a bike. You're just staring at my feet. I don't know why.